How we doing? FT Live, back at Borgata in Atlantic City. It's been a minute, right? Did you miss it?
Oh, always Atlantic City. That's my middle name. Let's go.
Thought your middle name was
Father.
Tom's River.
I thought it was Father.
It's Brian, actually.
Oh, TBF.
His first name's Todd Father, right?
That's well. Yeah, I've got a couple different names.
But has anyone ever been like, Todd, is that short for anything? Yeah, Todd Father.
Yeah, people have asked me that.
Is Todd short for something?
I've had that. But where I'm at, like in a certain location, my name changes.
Okay.
So, you know.
What else you got? Can you give us one?
I'd have to hurt you.
Okay. So Toddrick?
I've said that one time. Todd short for Toddrick. I've said that.
That's good. That's good.
Todd like Father, that. Leo, Antonio.
Brian.
Anyway,
boy, it's going to be one of those days.
It is going to be one of those 2 hours. We're going to talk to Russ Dorsey coming up soon. Jayson Stark, who's popular in this area for his Phillies coverage. And Kike Hernandez of the Dodgers will join us soon, too. We'll look forward to that in the second hour. Also, just a little reminder and shout out to Borgata. Atlantic City's best live entertainment is on stage year-round right here. Visit theborgata.com for the full entertainment lineup. Let's charge the damn mound, shall we? Phillies, Diamondbacks, we kind of have a series. I'm saying it reluctantly. We kind of have a series because
100%.
I still don't really think this is going to get to a 6 or a 7. Although I guess if the D-backs pull off one more, it does get to a 6. But your thoughts, Kratz? Are you feeling like we kind of have a series? Not really like we have a series, which is Houston and Texas.
I feel like you had to take out your predetermined ideas. They went down there and they were like the best hitting team. They had all this fire in the lineup and they were smashing. But if you look back, some of those games, it was really tough for them to score early. It was tough for them to really get anything together, including game 2 in Philly, where it's like they were the best team ever. Oh, my goodness. For a long time, it was 3 hits apiece on both sides. The Phillies weren't just first inning, all the runs. Merrill Kelly lasted as long as he did. Zach Gallen lasted a decent amount. So why did we think it was going to be any different last night? Because Fought's just a rookie?
Yes.
You know, what
people look at regular season ERA, and they're like, oh.
And not the last 5 starts?
No. I'm saying the general public. They don't look at that. They don't look at his stuff. He's got the best stuff, some people say, on the pitching staff.
Because he's able to throw into all 4 quadrants 4 different pitches. And that's something that I don't think Gallen and Merrill Kelly do as well. But I don't think Merrill Kelly and Gallen did that bad. If they were held to the shorter leash as Fought, they would have had the same result, close to the same results as Fought. And we've got to give more credit to Fought. So all that to say, I still think the Phillies are the superior team, but it shows that this is why you play the playoffs. This is why I understand there's 100-win teams that people are trying to figure out how can we helicopter parent and like make sure they still get in. Oh, you did a good job here. You got 10 extra wins. Okay, you only have to win one game to advance. Like, we want it to be nice and neat for you. This is the playoffs. It's not the same environment down in Arizona, but it is something that is you lost. You lost game one. Phillies have to come back out and absolutely lay the wood to Joe Mantiply, then to Kyle Nelson, then to Ryan Nelson. They got to get all the Nelsons. See if they can get Jimmy Nelson out of retirement. Like, they're going to see a lot of different pitchers tonight, and that's why they took Fought out last night, because Kyle Schwarber has 12 home runs. The third time he gets to see a pitcher in the third time through in a lineup, so they're just not going to let it happen.
Yeah, and I think one thing that we're overlooking here, they're 1-2. Phillies are 1-2 on the road, sample size, but the flight, 5-hour flight. I'm the excuse maker. That's what I'm going to do. A 5-hour flight, getting accustomed to the heat as well. I know they played inside. I get it, but at the same time, they have to get used to the time change. And Arizona too as well. Nobody hit. It was a low-scoring game. Both teams didn't hit, and Arizona still is not hit, and they got lucky to get that game. So for them, take it as a plus, but they still need to start mashing here, and that's the biggest thing I want to see, because the Phillies been doing it all playoffs long. So for Arizona, they're not going to skate by winning 2-1. They're going to have to start hitting more.
Would you be in the clubhouse going up to dudes, like if you're on Philly, being like, yo, we were on no sleep. Now have fun with us on real sleep. Yo, we're in a different park, whatever. Like the excuse you don't want to deal with me today, though, kind of situation?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's just one of those things. You know how guys have routines?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you're used to waking up at a certain time. Now you're not going to bed till 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, because the 3-hour difference. Like, there's things that go along with it. I'm not making excuses for the Phillies. They still got to play, just like everybody else. But, yeah, I mean, getting accustomed to a different area is a real thing. So, in my opinion, maybe it was just me that was the complainer.
No, that's just everyday guys.
Every day. All right.
The bench guys are like, what? No sleep? Let's go. Let's go. This is an even playing field now. What I would have done after that game, I would have checked with Kimbrel first. But I've been like, turn the music up. Yeah. We're still this team. We are still, as the kids say, we are still him. We are still the boss of this series, and we need to act like it, because this team did skate by. They got the big hits when Ketel Marte got the big hits when they needed it.
Kid's a stud.
But the Phillies' defense was unbelievable. They didn't hit. So to me, I give more credit to Fought than the Phillies' offense. And then they did get to their back three guys. And if you only get to your back three guys, every team's going to do really well.
And it's funny because I know a bunch of Phillies fans, and my buddy Vinny back at home, he watches the show.
Vinny Esposito?
All the time. No, he's an Italian. No, just Vinny, I call him. But he texts me, he goes, can you believe what the announcer said? I said, well, he compared that hit to 2001 hit. I'm like, are you just being a sore loser? He's like, no, man. This is bowl. I'm like, Vinny, I'll blast you out on the show tomorrow. Don't you worry about it.
He's pissed because they're saying Ketel getting the walk-off knock.
It was like Luis Gonzalez
against
hit
Mo.
against the Yankees.
Yeah. I don't think they really compared it like that. I think they were just saying they haven't had history like that since, right?
I told him, I said, stop being that's what you Philly fans do. You're a sore loser. You'll be fine, I told him. Keep making those wings. He's a wing maker, I call him.
Actually, you know what Philly fans were doing? And wing makers.
He's got his own shop, wings and things.
How do you make wings?
Because he's got his own shop in Tom's River.
Buffalo wings?
I'm blasting him out today.
Did they get him off the Buffalo?
He's going to owe me a lot of money.
Did Vinny complain about the umpires? Because, we have both of our post-game shows that we did after the games last night that are up on Foul Territory YouTube. Good 30 minutes on each game. Very dedicated to what happened, like play-by-play, anything significant. The balls and strikes were not great. It was probably the worst home plate calls I've seen so far this year.
In the playoffs.
It was it actually too?
I need to find that. I need to find it.
Okay, because eye test,
I think it was the top
many
three
misses.
Worst.
It was not good, and there was a check swing.
That was worse than the balls and strikes.
Well, they're both terrible, but I know what you're saying. Because Philly fans were like, "Yo, Perdomo walked. He shouldn't have walked. He shouldn't have been strike 3. We should be playing extras."
So it started the first part of the game. What was that, Dan Iasonia back there? Yo, he rung up Schwarber real fast. It was borderline. I got you. It was borderline.
Absolutely.
Got it. Too close to take. But you're like, okay, well, if they're getting that call, all right, let's be consistent. He was like 89%. 89 point something. I'm like,
he was inconsistent for both teams.
Absolutely.
That's what it was, which sucks because actually, you know what guys say, and I still think this is wrong. Like many players will go, as long as I know what the zone is and it's consistent, even if it's not right, I'm cool, which I still think is a joke. You know what I'm saying? Have you ever heard guys say that? Yes. Like, I know this dude's going to give me an extra inch here or an extra inch there. I'm like, I get it. You're just kind of saying like, this sucks, but this sucks a little bit less.
We can use it.
Yeah, we can work with this, right? I'm a professional. I know where I have to extend myself with a zone. Yesterday, it's just like, hey, you might get a little up here, then take that out. You might get a little below the zone, then take that out, right? There's nothing to it.
And it's not like the other night. And a lot of this is like, each night builds on each other. The other night, I forget who was behind the plate, but Jonah Heim, the umpire, missed 9 pitches in the first, I forget how many innings, and 8 were when Jonah Heim was catching. So 8 went against the Astros, and the Astros still won.
I want to apologize. 91%. I was off by
91%.
2 clicks.
Okay. So
but listen,
every 10 pitches, one of them was called incorrectly.
Oof.
And there's how many pitches in an average game? 2 something?
Called pitches usually 160 maybe.
Per team?
Yeah.
Total. Called pitches.
Called. Right.
I understand.
Okay.
Bro, go ahead.
Quick math on that. How many would be wrong
16
then?
he missed.
16.
He missed 10%.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
That
and I think
it doesn't matter. It's what are you going to do about it?
What are you going to do about it? They have to make the adjustment moving forward, and I think it's already in the works. KBO,
I'm not a fan, man.
The Korean Baseball League, they're doing it. They're bringing the challenge system in.
I love that.
The challenge system is where it's going to be, and the only reason I say that is unopinionated. The CBA for the umpires have already put that in. They've already said in the 5-year window of their CBA, collective bargaining agreement, they're going to have, there's a tweet. They're going to have it in where they're allowed to bring in the challenge system or I
love that
strike zone system.
I still want umpires. I still want the oh man, where was that? I want the yelling. I want the screaming.
You just want to get into it.
No, I do. Listen,
boys.
Listen. I've been thinking about this a lot, bro. Look what's going to happen here, and I can picture this. Remember you played wiffle ball when you were younger? And you make sure something was behind you, a garbage can, a square thing. This is how baseball is going to be in 10 years, 5 years. They're going to throw Frisbees up there, and it's going to hit a spot, and they're going to be like, strike, because it hit the damn garbage can. That's not baseball, bro. You want to play wiffle ball in that crap, go in the backyard. Have the human element. Hey, he missed 10%. Now we're talking about it. This is why human element, this is what life is about. People not doing well, people doing great. All right, you get pissed off, but guess what? There's another game tomorrow. And forget about what Dan
they might screw you over tomorrow too.
I don't want to be in the backyard with a freaking wiffle ball bat, throwing one to the sky and coming back and hitting the damn garbage can. Next batter up. No, I don't want that. My son had a game last night. Charlie, home plate umpire. He's probably 85 years old. People were cranking on him because he was calling bad pitch. Guess what? He was terrible. I said, Charlie, I got your back. Don't worry about it. You know you screwed my son over too. It's okay. I don't care. Keep going. That's the way it is, brother. And he's up there, strike. I'm like, Charlie, I need a hand signal, though. That's all. Like, stuff like that. I don't want this crap. I love the part, though, that they're going to be like, hey, can you check that? That's perfect. That's like, give him 3. See you later. I'm sorry. I don't want to play wiffle ball.
T. Frazier is going to be the first one that's going to go, challenge system, straight. Wait for it.
Yeah.
Oh, that was actually a ball. Flips him off out of the game. First ever to be.
I'm flipping off the freaking computer.
You would love the challenge system, dude. You would love it.
You bastard.
Because for any player that thinks they're
right, I like that, but I want the umpire
say, ha, ha.
Yeah. No, you look, you'd be like, good job, Jim. You owe me one.
Maybe when I retire, I'll do what you're doing.
Love the challenge system, but it's going to take away from catchers framing. Like,
it's not, though, because of how the challenge system works. You only get 3 challenges as a team which I love that aspect of it, because how many players did you play with every time they slide into a base and they're called out or into first, they're like, check, and you're like,
but let me ask you
you're
this.
out. They're going to be first pitch, ball, pitcher's out there on the mound.
It's going to be incredible.
Hey, but pitchers can do it too.
It's going to be great.
Dude,
Can pitchers do it too?
Yes.
I'm telling you, dude.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like,
And they're going to use all three up for your team.
They're going to get you guys against each other because there's going to
great.
be like some dude that always spits at every pitch, right? Like next time we have Muncie on, right? Because he's one of the best in the biz with spitting at pitches. But if he, calls for it 3 times in a game and he's wrong on all 3, his teammates are going to be like, dude, you're hogging up all the challenges.
That's what I mean. That's where you're going to have
awesome,
to decide.
But he's not going to be wrong.
I know he's not.
The guys that are going to be wrong, this guy.
You get one at bat, like, come on, no, this is.
I'd
me.
be like,
don't
and people, Max Muncy's in the dugout going, no, stop, guys, you're always wrong.
Oh, man.
What now?
Aren't they going to have someone then in the dugout technically that's probably monitoring, not necessarily the TV feed, but at least whoever's got the best eye from the side to be like, Kratz, no, not on that one. No.
You got to do it right away.
Yeah, I don't know what the time span's going to be.
Because it's quick.
It's quick. So then our team's going to wear buzzers to tell them if it was a ball or strike to be like, oh, challenge.
No, don't say buzzers in baseball.
No, don't say buzzers around Todd.
Especially for Todd, that's a sore spot.
That's
anyway,
a sore spot.
Speaking of which, we'll get to the Astros and the Rangers coming up next with Russ Dorsey. First off, poll question today, and you can vote at watchstadium.com/foul territory. What is the best division in baseball this year? AL East has no teams left. AL West has 2 teams left. AL Central, LOL. And the NL West. Be right back.
I think I'm genuinely interested in. This is a new format. We're only in the second year. I'm sure teams are thinking critically in the offseason, in the lead up to the postseason. How can we best maximize that break so that way we get the rest, but we don't get the rust, and we get to line up our pitching, but our hitters stay on time? I'm interested to see how teams themselves develop in years going forward, their approach to that break. But I don't think the break is a hindrance to the top seeded teams. Just coming here, they should feel good because they have Yordan Alvarez, and that's a really good place for any postseason team to be. I don't know that momentum. I don't know that it was such a decisive game that, they feel like they're going to steamroll the Rangers. The Rangers came back. Their offense looked pretty good. Their bullpen hasn't been as bad as people feared. So I don't think that it necessarily looks like this is suddenly lopsided in the Astros' favor, which maybe some people thought going into the series. I think the Rangers still feel pretty good. But the Astros look really comfortable batting it in Arlington. And when they're comfortable, their lineup looks really good. Both these teams are getting pretty good production out of the bottom of their lineup. When Mauricio Dubon and Leody Taveras are getting hits, I think that makes the rest of the lineup feel really good in both clubhouses. So I don't know. I think tonight, this is a dumb thing to say because of course, but it's like, I think tonight will be really interesting because the Astros swept the Rangers here at the end of the regular season, and now they've won the first game. So it's like, come on, Rangers, like you got to take back a little bit of that home field advantage. You have to leverage the benefit you got sweeping or taking the first 2 games from the Astros in their ballpark, or else it's just, you've completely lost the advantage that gave you.
And now back to foul territory.
We're back. Braun, Frazier, Kratz on Stadium with Stadium's own Russ Dorsey.
Ooh-wee.
What's up, Russ? Happy LCS. Things getting a little bit more interesting. We just did a lot of NLCS. We can swing back to that in a little bit, but let's start with ALCS. We also do recap shows after the games. So what I want to do is try and spin it forward now, okay? It happened. It's 2-2 in the series. So where is your head at? Do you think that the Astros have the edge now based on them technically having home field at this point? It's a best of 3 series, where the pitching staffs are at, and what you see, especially going for a game 5 now where we get the number 1 starters back on both sides. This is the series that we had circled, and I think it's living up to it.
Yeah, I think you make really great points there, Scott. I think for me, it definitely goes back to 0 and best of 3 for both of these teams. And I think the thing that I think about when looking at this series, the shorter the series was, the more the Rangers had the advantage. The longer the series went, the more the Astros had the advantage. And now that we're in this best of three situation now, I do think the Astros that have come back to life here. And the thing that I was worried about with the Texas Rangers going into this postseason was that bullpen. But they had shut me up. And we had talked about it early in the week because going into game 3, they had a 2.01 ERA. Now you had them go 5 innings in game 3 and then 8 2/3 innings from your bullpen in game 4. That's not great if you're the Rangers. And now they've gotten a lot of looks at everybody in your bullpen. Guys are going to be worn down going into game 5 before you get that day off. And I thought for the Rangers, it behooved them to win it in 5 games, or you didn't have to go back to Houston. Now that you know that you'll have to go back to Houston, and the fact that the Astros have had so much success in their own building, it just puts them behind the 8 ball. And so I thought from jump, the Rangers looked like the better team, but the team that we saw that went 7-0 in the postseason, they haven't really shown up the last couple of days.
Was it more indicative to they had a good bullpen the first 2 games, or was it the fact that they just don't have a deep bullpen? And it all is going to end up hinging on the starters, making sure you get to those final 3 guys, which Chapman's one of those final 3 guys, and you're like, ugh.
Yeah, no, it's definitely that. And if you're only going to get 4 innings from Max Scherzer, you got 2/3 innings from Andrew Heaney. That's the big killer, right? That's a lot of outs to cover in the postseason anytime, but especially in the postseason when we've talked about it before, coming into the postseason, that these bullpens are so important to your success, and one game can throw off the rest of the series. And I definitely think it's, hey, how quickly can we get this thing over to Jose Leclerc in the back end? And if that's not a guy that can just go 3 or 4 innings where it's like, all right, get us to 5, we got Leclerc. Or like the Andrew Miller from 2016-17, where it's like, hey, can you get us 2 innings in the back end, please and thank you? So the fact that you don't have that, and the fact that you have Aroldis Chapman that might throw a scoreless inning, but there might be 2 walks mixed in there, or there might be a homer, or a lot of hard contact. I think that's a situation where the Rangers are in now, where they have to. You got to be able to score runs. And the last couple of games, they haven't scored runs like we saw them in the first 7 games of this postseason.
Now, on the flip side, with the Houston Astros, they love playing at Globe Life. I don't, it's one of those things where I'd love to play at home. But, hey, listen, baseball is a quirky sport. What people aren't talking about, in my opinion, is Dusty Baker. He is a man that knows how to coach. He knows how to manage. He doesn't look frazzled at all. Can you dive into a little bit? I played for him, but we lost in the playoffs. Dive into a little bit of what he brings to the table, of the calmness and collectiveness he brings to this team.
Dusty is a guy, and this, Todd, cool as the other side of the pillow, right? and I don't expect that guy to get frazzled. He's like baseball Billy D. Williams in a lot of ways. He comes in with his hat and his gloves on, and he's ready to rock and roll. And I think something that I asked Dusty during the World Series last year after they won it all is, what did he feel in that moment with all of the games that he had managed before? And he said, for a long time, people liked telling me what I couldn't do. Oh, he can't manage bullpens. Oh, he doesn't have it in the big moments. Dusty makes the wrong decisions. But when you've seen that much baseball, I wouldn't expect that guy to get frazzled. When guys like Hank Aaron were your mentors, like we have as much history with Dusty Baker, like he links so many different generations. And I think when guys are around him, even the guys in that Astros clubhouse that have been used to winning long before Dusty got there, I think they feel as connected to Dusty as they were with AJ Hinch. Like they feel comfortable. And I don't know if there's a lot of people who could have taken on that job and done it as seamlessly as Dusty did. And I think the reason that they're here at this point, and there's been so much continuity between the last regime and this regime, has a lot to do with Dusty Baker.
Is Dusty's loyalty to his starters going to end up hurting him? Because it looks like he's going to have to throw Framber back out there. And the loyalty helped him when he put Urquidy out there in Minnesota last night. He kind of had to go away from him. It looked like it was slipping away. Is it going to hurt him when it comes to Framber?
Oh, it might. It might. And I think this is the version of Fromber that we saw in the second half of the season where you're just like, dude, I know when this guy is on, he's a top 10 starter in the big leagues, maybe even top 5, but he's just not that guy right now. And I think something that Dusty has done, if we look at the lineup, is Kyle Tucker is one of the best players in the big leagues. But at some point you have to say, hey, he's not playing like it right now. We got to slide him back in the order. Maybe Dusty looks at the situation with Fromber and says, hey, you have the shortest of leashes in this start. Maybe that's the way they have to do it. And I think the benefit that the Astros might have is I think Bruce Bochy might have to have the same thing on the other side, because you're going to get Evaldi, you're going to get Jordan Montgomery. But let's say this thing goes 7. Who starts game 7 for the Texas Rangers? Do you throw Max Scherzer back out there? Andrew Heaney, obviously 2/3 innings. That's not going to get it done. So I think both of these managers are going to have to make some tough decisions, and the leash might have to be a lot shorter, even for 2 old school managers who like to give their guy a little runway. I don't think you can afford to do that in this series.
Can the Rangers make the adjustment and stop pitching to Yordan Alvarez? Or is it just like they're not – it's not the pitcher's fault. Bochy, who is so good at the bullpen, every move he makes is surrounding getting Yordan Alvarez out. Why not surround your decisions with getting the 2 people around him out? Because Kyle Tucker ain't doing jack. So you're essentially bringing in, to me, below average matchup lefties against a guy who actually handles lefties well, but they just keep doing it every time through the order. Next lefty. Hey, get him ready for Yordan. And Yordan's like, thank you.
Yeah, right here.
Yes.
Hey, right here. That's what I would do if I'm Bruce Bochy. I love watching Yordan Alvarez swing the bat. Like, he is an absolute pleasure to watch. And he's the reason, the way you're seeing him play right now is the reason that I thought he would be the AL MVP this season. Like, the guy is, I know we always, talk about him in the same vein we talk about Big Papi. Like, he has that type of presence where it's like, this guy can wreck our season. And he could do that for the Texas Rangers. And I think you're definitely right about, you have a guy who is split resistant, left on left does not bother him. At some point, you have to say, either we're going to bring our best right-handed matchup that we feel we have against Yordan, or we're just going to put him on, because it makes no sense. You've seen it. You've seen the damage. You've seen it against yourself. You've seen it against these other teams where it's like left on left, that's not going to work for this guy. And I think he's a special type of hitter. And for special hitters, you just got to tip your cap and like, hey, man, we're going to put you on and we're going to pitch to the next guy. And if he beats us, we'll tip our cap.
Yep.
I agree. I will also say if Jose Abreu is doing damage like that, then everyone's in big trouble. And we gave a shout out to our boy. We gave a shout out to our boy on the post-game show last night. We said Podfather looked at the 2023 season and thought Jose Abreu is going to lead the world in home runs. We just missed the ... in the postseason.
He mumbled the postseason.
I said MVP,
part.
And I think I messed up.
No, you said
home run leader.
Home run and MVP.
MVP? I don't know.
Just go with it.
You might get it all for the playoffs.
It's been sitting on my phone the whole year.
If they win the World Series, you might be right, though. That's my only point.
Not to bust in on Russ. It's because they're setting it up to get the guys around him out. He's hitting the ball to the moon. Stop. Put somebody in there. He can't hit a fastball above 95 miles an hour from the right side.
You got to throw it in, too. They're not getting it in.
Lefties. Sorry. Bradford, the rookie, is not coming in to get Jose Abreu out.
No.
Continue, Russ. You have a comment.
No, I was going to say, no. You're cooking. You're cooking with gas. I was going to say, to Todd's point about Jose Abreu, obviously I got to watch him here in Chicago for a long time. And you looked at a guy that going into the season, I was with him. I thought Jose Abreu was going to have a really big year, playing down indoors where, in the months of April, Todd, it get cold here, man. Like, it don't really warm up until that first week of June. And so you see a guy in Jose Abreu who did not have the season that many of us expected to have. But right now, you're seeing the version of Jose Abreu that the Astros thought that they signed and thought that they would get. And it might be the reason they get back to the World Series.
All right, let me go to the National League here for a second. You wrote in here, nobody wants to see the Phillies. And then you wrote again. You are correct, Russ, from 13 days ago. I absolutely love that. Now, solid tweet there. Now, let me ask you a question. You still believe that?
I do. I think the Phillies should have won that game last night. I think the D-backs, hey, tip your cap to them. They made Craig Kimbrell work in the ninth against a guy that was not commanding the strike zone. And you got Ketel Marte, who's been lights out in this postseason. Flared some in the center field, won the ball game. But scoring 2 runs isn't going to win you this series against the Philadelphia Phillies. And at some point, you're going to have to be able to put up 5, 6, 7 runs because you're not going to be able to hold that Phillies offense down for too long. And I think about with the D-backs, I love the story. I love a lot of those players on that team. I think Torey Lovullo is one of the league's best when it comes to managing. It's the reason he's been able to do it. Had to stretch with some bad teams, and he's back there again. I don't like the fact that the D-backs aren't doing what got them here against the Phillies. I thought for a young, athletic, fast team that they'd be swiping bags. They were second in the big leagues in stolen bases this season. You have a guy at the top in Corbin Carroll swipe 50 bags this season. Ketel Marte can swipe bags. And they have 1 stolen base this series. It's from Lourdes Gurriel Jr. I know JT Realmuto is the standard. He is the bar for catchers in the big leagues, and I know he has a rocket on his right arm. But if you're going to go down being the team that you are, not trying to be a team where it's like, well, we can't run on JT because, you don't want to run into outs. I get all that. But at the same time, if you have a guy in Corbin Carroll that swiped 50 bags, why not let that guy try to wreak some havoc on the base paths?
So is this more indicative of the Diamondbacks not playing their game? Or is it more indicative of the Phillies doing an incredible job? Because the first time Aaron Nola hasn't used a slide step since 2017. And he's slide stepping every time they got somebody on first base, and he's still having success. So to me, I would kick back and say this, in my opinion, this is more of a Phillies thing, doing a great job and being prepared and being willing to make adjustments that they didn't make during the regular season.
Cool. But then to that, what's the counterpunch from Arizona, right? Like, if the Phillies are going to do that, and Aaron Nola's going to say, hey, man, I ain't done this in a long time. I'm going to do it, though, because that's what we need to do. That's the game plan against a team that's going to run on us. That's the game plan against a team that led the National League in stolen bases. The D-backs have to do something to counter that, right? Is it, hey, make him throw over. He only get 2. So you make him throw over, and then you say, hey, if JT beats me with his arm. But I'd have a hard time looking back if I'm the D-backs and you get bounced by the Phillies and you end up having 1 stolen base in the series. And they don't even have many attempts, right? And the guy that stole the base is not one of your burners. So I want to see the counterpunch from Arizona to combat that.
Fair. I thought it would be like Rajai Davis against John Lester. Remember that, like, cat and mouse back and forth? Wasn't it those two?
Yeah, but there's no cat and mouse back and forth. I mean, Lourdes took it last night because every time Kimbrell comes set, he comes set like this, and as soon as he goes like this, he never comes. He picks from right here when he picks. Anytime he comes set and he looks home, he never picks. It's just a running lead. And I think Pavin Smith might have gotten one late too. That was a defensive indifference. They didn't even try. They just let him go. But no, I don't think we can have the cat and mouse anymore. Rajai Davis or teams putting Terrence Gore on their roster, like, they're not doing that because more guys can steal bases and it's less of a cat and mouse, more of a premeditated, how am I going to keep this guy, than trying to pick over.
Also, Craig Kimbrell's not going to change much at this point. He's been doing the same thing for a long time. You think he's going to make an adjustment?
It could have lost the Phillies the game when Nola was out there and he didn't. So why is a closer who's played just as long as Nola not willing to make a change or able to make a change?
I think you know what you're getting, though, and he even knows, okay, I've been in the league for a long time. Sure, you can get into scoring position off of me, but half the time I load up the bases anyway, and then I escape. Like, Craig Kimbrell's been a roller coaster his entire career. Don't you think, Russ? I mean, my memories when someone asks me in the future, right? Like when he retires one day, how's Craig Kimbrell? I'll be like, oh, one of the best closers of his generation. Definitely gave people a heart attack. He wasn't a 1, 2, 3 inning guy.
True.
But somehow he always would get it done. It's almost like he needed a little bit of the adrenaline and pressure. And then he's like, oh, 2 on? Okay, now I'll strike out the side. Isn't he been like that most of his career? No?
I'd say early in the Atlanta Braves, even that Padres Kimbrel, where it's like, here's a hundo, you can't hit it, right? And then later in his career, the end of Boston, I covered him here in Chicago when he was with the Cubs, where it's like, I don't know if Craig Kimbrel has it left, and they took him out of the closer's role. They let Jeremy Jeffress be the closer, and Craig kind of like built himself back up to be the setup man. And then the next year had a really solid year as a different kind of guy. After the velo dipped a little bit. And I think at this point in his career, you're saying this is not 1, 2, 3 strikeouts Kimbrel anymore. This is a guy similar to what we talked about with Aroldis Chapman, where, hey, you might have a scoreless inning, he'll get the save. And he's had a really solid season this year, but there might be a walk mixed in there. It might be a homer mixed in there. And so, for the Phillies, being able to have these large leagues that helps a guy like a Craig Kimbrel, where it's like, all right, I can make a mistake over the middle of the plate and it doesn't hurt me because I still have a 2-run lead. But I think that's what you're going to get at this point, and it's a tough way to live in the postseason.
I think it's more of a process. Like, I think Scott's view of it is because that guy's in that situation. I want you, Russ, to name me somebody that's not named Mariano or Trevor in a closer role where you're like, this is going to be easy. Go.
If I threw Billy Wagner at you,
yes, that's a good one. And you guys are going all time. I mean,
all time.
Even in recent memory, though, I felt that way about. You're saying like for years, because like last year that was Class A. That wasn't this year.
Absolutely.
That's Josh Hader, right? I mean,
Prime Kenley.
Sure, Prime Kenley. Yes, he usually would get the job done pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Prime Kenley, but. For me, for example, with Hader, like the past few years, sure, he gets himself in trouble sometimes, but less in my mind than Kimbrel would. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. But look at like a Devin Williams, who he probably is going to win the Trevor Hoffman Award again this year. It is chase this thing below the zone, and if you don't, the next guy will.
Yep.
And it's that nail biting because you're in the moment of the ninth inning type of not necessarily locking it down. Like 2014, Wade Davis was unbelievable. He gave up like 2 extra base hits until the World Series when he gave up a triple to Gregor Blanco. Like there's years of that, but as far as like guys who do that all the time, I think that's tough. When you get put in that closer role, you're the lights are brighter and the flames are coming out of the scoreboard for a reason.
It's true. That's true. Well, Russ, enjoy if we have another roller coaster ride with Mr. Kimbrel tonight. We'll see what happens, dude, and we'll chat next week, all right?
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right, we'll swing back. We'll give you our picks for tonight's games. Locks. Get ready.
Either calm me down or stoke the fire.
And there you go. And there's the article there for you, Britt, too. For the pod crowd, we're looking at Kim Ng was a reluctant trailblazer. Now she's a certified badass on the ever-present challenge of being a female in sports and how the end goal can't be just to get the job. We've been all very vocal and opinionated about this, so the floor is yours on what you've learned and what your thoughts are at this stage in the game, because I imagine at some point maybe Kim will speak publicly. I don't think the Marlins will do shit. They'll try and hide it under the rug. But I hope this story doesn't go away yet.
Yeah, and that is part of the reason why I wrote that column. I mean, 2 days ago, or I don't even know what day today is, Monday, when this first happened, I got a text message from our editors. Ken Rosenthal is working on a million stories at once at any given time. They're like, can you look into this? So I did, and had a report out about some of the issues, why she was kind of felt like she needed to leave. Not only was it just the president over her, which I think people really zeroed in on, but it was the fact that she was just going to be a lame duck GM. They didn't rip up that deal and give her a new 3-year contract and say, hey, you are part of this future. I mean, she couldn't even, guys, as GM, get rid of some of the holdovers from the Jeter era, from the Gary Denbo and some of these guys who weren't loyal to her. She couldn't get rid of some of these guys who were department heads who she felt didn't have her back. There was a lot of backstabbing going on, and it's always really interesting. When you write a story like this, I tell people the next day, you can almost write a follow-up because people will text you, you were right. Oh my God, did you hear about this? And, I kind of put together even more of the puzzle now. And basically it boils down to this. Bruce Sherman was given a bad piece of advice. Bruce Sherman, I was told, was barely around the team, maybe 6 weeks the entire season. Somebody told him they needed somebody above Kim. Not everyone there liked Kim. And Bruce Sherman took it as a good idea. He listened to this person instead of Kim Ng, who he had faith in, or, the organization, at least Derek Jeter had faith in. And look what happened. I mean, it backfired in such a colossal way.
And now, back to foul territory.
Back on FT Live, we are at Borgata in Atlantic City. Braun, Kratz, Todd Father, trying to make the people, baseball fans or not, a little dough.
Everybody needs. Who doesn't want some more dough?
Who doesn't want to watch a game and know what happens before the game starts?
Over here?
Because
why'd you go this way? Why don't you point to him?
This is the all-star group right here. We talked about it.
You need some better picks, okay? That's what you need.
Well, let's backtrack, okay?
I might double down now.
Receipts, please. Your BetMGM Friday locks. First look back at Thursday. Todd Father. Phil didn't get it done.
You guys cheated.
I felt like I cheated when my lock hit.
Kratz's lock hit
inning
basically before the game started.
That's solid.
3 Ks for Suarez, 3 Ks for Fott. Yes, easy, done. I just am trying to keep it simple right now. It's like Astros are taking another. So there we are, looking real pretty with money bags. So let's get locked in.
I got more than Scott. So we're
Friday.
Good.
I remember how I said I should have bought it up. Like 4 Ks for both was plus 250.
Should have did 5.
If you would have done 7 and 7, like it hit, it was like 1,100 or 1,200
plus
or
1,100.
I don't know. But that's where you get in trouble.
That is where you get in trouble. You cannot get too greedy.
This is where we get our big numbers.
And these are locks. You want to have a crazy Friday and do something plus 1,000? Go for it. But
that's
locks.
Not our game. That's not my game.
Right here, we're trying to stay focused.
Lock
I got the record, but you got more dough than me because you're a little more bold than me. So what are you doing today?
He says it with his chest.
Yeah.
My Griffey chest today. Hey, I'm gonna do an under today.
Okay.
I got Verlander on the mound. I got my man Jay Monty. I just made up another name for him.
Yeah.
Jay Monty.
No one calls.
Jormont. No.
Monty.
Either way.
Monty sounds like money. I like that.
It's going to be a good matchup. A 9 is the over-under. I'm going under. 575 to win 5. It's at minus 115. Time to get back on the train. That's that W train.
I like that. It might be a push because I had the game 5-4. Last night when we talked about it, I felt like it was a 5-4 game. I think they're going to get 4 off of Verlander.
No, 3-2.
3-2. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
not going to tell you who's going to win, but that's all I'm saying.
I'm fading him. I'm taking the over.
Okay, do it.
The over's hit.
Maybe
the
we'll
over
put
is
a little
hit.
side on it.
I might.
No, you and me.
You and me?
I get to give you any type of haircut you want.
Oh, that kind of side.
Any kind of haircut.
Yeah.
You want to do haircut battle? No, I don't want to do haircut battle.
He's scared money.
That's a lot. That's
You would do any type of haircut? You would do a Lourdes Gurriel?
Well, how long would I
I don't know.
Whoa, scared money.
You get to do whatever you want in my hair. I get to do whatever you want in your hair.
That's a lot. Or just dinner.
All right, fine.
Or just be cool and grow mustaches.
Yeah.
Okay,
how about
focus.
we could do shave? I haven't shaved the beard completely off in like 2 years now.
Let's do that for the World Series. Let's get
let's
crazy.
wait. Hold up. Kratz is breaking us up.
Yeah, let's
bench is clearing.
Here comes this crazy one. How many we got today? 6?
We need 3 sneezes during the game. We're going Monty, 4+ Ks, and the old Turd Lander, 4+ Ks.
Okay.
Verlander 4, Monty 4.
Yeah.
They've hit it in every start in their last 10 starts, except Monty didn't hit it one time. One random time.
And what's that at?
2.
What did
Plus
you lock it in at?
125.
Plus 125.
Wow.
It's actually gone down since the day has gone on. I locked it in this morning at plus 125, and it's now down to plus 110.
Fair. Makes sense.
Wow.
I'm going to keep it simple again because it's been working lately. I'm just looking at the 2 games when it's a 2-game day and saying, which game do I feel like is going to end up with a result in my favor on a money line that I feel like is probably less steep than it should be.
Yes.
That to me yesterday was the Astros. I think it was minus 105. I locked it in on yesterday. Today for me, with the Phillies at minus 130 going up against a bullpen game with a bullpen that has 2 or 3 guys that I like and the rest that essentially in a playoff spot I don't like, I don't trust. That's going to be a problem for me. I could see the Phillies putting it on tonight.
All right.
I really could. I mean, Mantiply's not scaring anyone, and yeah, I mean, we love our boy Seawald, and Ginkel looks great, but
May never get to him.
you might not get to him. That's an inning for you. I think it's a tough spot. I really like Christopher Sanchez from what I watched this year. My only concern is he hasn't pitched in a billion years. I was looking, the last time he pitched was September 30th, 1 inning. Like that was, I guess, a tune-up or whatever was going on.
9
Because he
pitches.
mostly started this year. 9 pitches.
9 pitches. That's
Wow.
what he threw.
Jeez. I mean, if you look at like his peripherals this year, he's got a big ceiling. I mean, he's racking up ground balls. He's getting chased. He's got swing and miss stuff. Like,
Throwing strikes.
yeah.
He has the best. His changeup is rated in stuff-wise the second best changeup in baseball.
Wow.
I'm going to Larry
What?
Bird you on that one because he had the best fadeaway. Okay. I'm going to fade it.
Hateful fade.
It was hateful.
So you got the D-backs?
He just doesn't like the minus
I just wanted to
130.
say Larry Bird. So.
I'm like, you got AZ tonight?
Did you like that, though? I'm a
I
Larry
did.
Bird.
That was smooth.
Thank you.
That was
smooth.
nice. But I don't think it should be minus 130. I think
I feel like
minus
it should-
150.
Yes.
Right?
No, because this guy's, I mean, I don't even know what I was going to say anymore. I'm
No,
so
you were
confused.
going to say
He's not
something
like
about,
a big time name, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's not that big.
but
Bonus
if-
code FOUL, by the way, real quick. We
Let
can
him
keep
go.
it running. $1,500 first bet offer when you download the BetMGM Sportsbook app. Sign up and deposit at least $10 into your account. Place your first wager, and you can get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if the bet loses. And if that happens, your bonus bets will be available once your initial wager is settled. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Real quick, too. Go ahead, and then I have another
No, I was
announcement.
just going to say,
we're done.
you're looking at Christopher Sanchez and
Yeah.
thinking, he's kind of meh.
Yeah, man.
He's not been meh this year to the point where they almost slotted him before about the middle of September. They were going to slot him ahead of Ranger.
But I'm taking what you said. Playoffs.
Not a game.
Game changer.
Practice?
No, we talking about playoffs. Playoffs. Thank
My
you.
only thing with Christopher Sanchez is, should they have tried to find a way to get him into the DS or the CS, or it's just not a thing? You can't do it because you didn't need him.
Not the way it went. Not the way it went. This is where you have him, and I think they have Taijuan Walker,
Tejon.
who's available. I think Michael Lorenzen can give you innings. I don't think they want to go to either one of those guys. I think they want to make this, okay, this is the game we're going to win because Wheeler's going tomorrow. We only really need 2 of you guys. I think Kerkering gets back in tonight. I think Kimbrel gets back in tonight, and then they're both down for the 3rd game. And you're hoping- Alvarado's in.
He's pitching every game.
He's pitching
of
all
the
3.
postseason. Yeah.
Alvarado's pitching all 3.
Sir
I don't
Anthony
think-
wasn't used
Sir
yesterday.
Anthony wasn't. Soto wasn't. Soto's really fresh.
Yep.
I could see them using Soto for 2 if needed. And I think the biggest thing they're trying to stay away from Taijuan Walker in this situation because he has, man, I don't even remember what his ERA is. Something crazy in the 1st inning. He needs to settle in. You get into the playoff atmosphere and you start feeling like what's going on. Now all of a sudden you're not the 1st inning anymore. You're flowing. So I think his splitter could play in the 3rd, 4th inning. I think Sanchez is the guy you want to line up here. And if they get runs, he could go 5 innings.
And what about flip it? Doesn't have his control. You're like, okay, hasn't pitched in a month, and we can tell right now. It's not throwing strikes or the changeups. He doesn't have a feel for it, right? Yep. Which happens all the time with the changeup. I could see a very quick hook based on everything that you're saying right now. There are a lot of options, both for long inning and You could bullpen game this and be okay if you're Philadelphia. And their pen has more length stuff wise.
For sure. But if you let's say Sanchez gets into it, he gives up 2 runs in the first inning and he's got more traffic. Now you bring Walker in, he gets the 7, 8, 9 guys in the order, which gives him a kind of lead-in inning, gets out of that first inning. Now he's fresh and ready to go for that top of the order. If you throw Taijuan Walker in there against Corbin Carroll right out of the gate, he might clip you for one and you're down 1-0 quick. I'm saying as far as your backup plan goes, not having Sanchez come in after Taijuan starts.
Here's my only question on the backup plan like that. Because that makes sense. But if Sanchez is in trouble, let's say he gives up 2 in the first, and then he's in the second, and there's 2 on, are you calling for Taijuan there, or are you calling for a reliever to clean it up? Because Walker doesn't do that. And then Walker. You know what I'm saying?
True. Yeah. No, I hear you.
Will they bring him in with runners on?
No, but
they'll give him a clean inning. But
saying,
you just don't want the clean inning to start with the top of the order, right? Like, let's say Sanchez goes 2, and you're back to the top of the order in the third. You're like, all right, this is not the spot.
With problems, yes. That's the if Sanchez gives you 2, now he gets into that bottom of the order, 8, 9, walk, hit, and then you get to the top of the order. That's when you bring in like a Chad Hoffman. He does great cleaning up damage. You bring in guys that have success in that situation, and then you give Walker the middle to the end of the order to get himself going.
And if Sanchez rolls and goes 5, Walker's not pitching.
If they score 6 runs, like I think they're going to,
okay,
before 5, Sanchez, go out there, throw strikes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, fair. Hey, we have an announcement to make. We did a giveaway the other day.
Oh.
And we have 5 winners announced on Twitter. It was the BetMGM giveaway, $100 in bonus bets. Nice and simple. And there are your winners posted. There are the names. I'm not going to say them all because I'm probably going to mess it up. But 5 names, 5 Twitter handles. Some of them very creative. Congratulations. So if you like any of the picks that we made,
I know.
Join the party.
It's all mine.
They're all mine. It's all Todd's.
No,
you're not.
They're all my account. That is not true.
No,
that is not true.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
You're not that creative.
And we'll be right back. It should be unloading Giancarlo Stanton packaged with whichever prospects or money necessary to make that happen. I enjoyed his peak years, but it's a wrap. So first off, if you do feel that way, right? Why you're the Yankees. You don't package prospects just to unload money. The Yankees have money. You don't have to worry about that. That's a small market team kind of situation. I mean, my thing is, and I get it, owners don't want to eat a bad decision. If you feel like that's the direction you want to go and they're the Yanks and no team wants to take him on, I mean, you can eat up almost all the money and then see if a team wants to take him, or you can cut the player. That stuff has happened. Chris Davis eventually was cut. There's a few others. I know it's really hard to stomach for some people. I'm saying if that's the decision that you want to make, the last thing the Yankees should be doing is attaching prospects to a contract to unload a contract. That's my point.
I don't necessarily agree with that part of it, because Hal Steinbrenner has flat out said he does not want to go over a certain level of luxury tax to keep feeding these bottom feeder teams more money that he's already giving them a ton of. Pay off some of the salary or whatever, give prospects so they pay off the salary. That's a salary. It's not a salary cap, but that's a salary cap issue. And I'm all on board with the way Hal talks about that. So that part I disagree with. The part that Sheffield said about getting rid of him, I couldn't more disagree with. 2022, this guy was an all-star. Does anybody remember the injury that he had after the All-Star break to then play through and finish out his season with a 759 OPS? The same injury that he then ended up having again last year and saw him running the bases at a slower than Kratz pace. The guy was playing through things. So I don't know if they do over-unders before the season of what somebody's going to do, but I'm not getting rid of this guy. And I promise you, if he is available for a palatable price, there will be 25 other teams ready to pick him up.
And now, back to foul territory.
Back on FT Live, we are at Borgata. Scotty Braun, Todd Frazier, Erik Kratz. How we doing? And a reminder, BetMGM Sportsbook and Bars, where sports fans watch sports. Visit theborgata.com for details. If you owned a team, would you just be chucking baseballs to the crowd, especially if you see someone in Arizona with a Phillies shirt? Because that's what Phillies owner John Middleton did. He is the people's champ right there. Not just tossing baseballs out to some Philly fans that made the trip to Arizona. I mean, like he is putting his body on the line right there. Also, he is putting his reputation on the line, because if he slips and falls right there, it doesn't matter anything else you've done in life. Like it's like 50 Cent throwing out his first pitch. This is all they're going to show if you slip right there in the dugout. And he's like, you know what? I'm agile enough to make this play.
That's Stretch Armstrong right there. No, he's not worried about it. He's got money. He's chilling. I think it's a great idea, man.
Of course.
But you got to get it under the net there. You know how tight that is.
That's tight. That's tight. So he needs.
It would be cool to see him just chucking them over. Like, who wants a ball? Come on down. You know, it's pretty cool what he's doing, man. That's nice. Something different. Now go down the line, sign some autographs so people can get that signature. No, it's very nice what he's doing. I could see Erik doing that.
Can we make every owner do that?
Yeah.
Something like that?
I remember
that people know that you're not a bot.
Brody Van Wagenen with the Mets, he went to the outfield with the 7 line.
Yep.
He was in there. I mean,
Cohen's done that too.
Something different. Yeah.
Yep.
Cohen finally did it, so that's really something interesting.
We'll have Mr. Middleton on at some point.
Okay.
This show. He said he wants to come on. His person that scheduled that stuff says he wants to come on. But the story I always think of when I see him giving stuff away is Roy Halladay passed away, and they held a thing down in Clearwater for the Phillies family. Yes, there was something at the stadium, but then afterwards we had something for just people who were in the Phillies organization. And the way he talked about it, it was like, look, you guys are part of this family, and it will forever be that way. No matter what happens in your life, you'll be part of this family. And we lost a part of our family today. This is when we need to come together. And I think he sees the fan base as part of the family also. And that's why he does stuff like that. He is a rich, selfless person. And that is really admirable and rare in this society, let alone in this 30 owners of baseball teams.
Just imagine you're a kid going to a playoff game and you're just watching BP and the guy's like, yo, man, you want a baseball?
A big league baseball.
A big league baseball. Something you'd be like, oh, this is awesome. And what he's doing right there, I mean, hopefully he gives most of them out to the younger generation. I'm sure there's a couple stragglers like, yo, I'll take a ball. And, okay, fine, but yes, very admirable guy that, you'd want on your side. And I would be on his side for that.
Forever tattooed in those kids' brains, they're Phillies fans because of what he did.
Yes, and they'll know who he is. And also, it's respect to people that are spending money, time, the whole deal, not just going to a Phil's game, but they're going to Arizona.
Yeah.
Right? Super cool.
So cool.
Anyway, hour number 2 of FT Live coming up. Jayson Stark will join us on the NLCS.
So I can be free. I take the weight on my shoulders. I feel the sky come down on me, and I can't hold it much longer. Gonna let go so I can be free. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ready? Hour 2, FT Live. We are in Atlantic City at Borgata. Braun, Frazier, Kratz will take your questions in the YouTube chat, and we are ready to bring on our first guest of the second hour. Ready for this?
Oh, we've been on here a long time.
I've been waiting a minute.
Look at
There
that
he
guy.
is. Jayson Stark from The Athletic, the Starkville Pod, MLB Net, many other spots you've probably listened, watched, read articles in the past, joining us right now. Jayson, look at this crew you got. How you doing?
Good one. What's happening in foul territory?
What's up?
We're good. We're nearby too. I know. We're how by the way, how close by are you to Atlantic City?
Well, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona right now, so not that close.
But I mean, you're
in my normal world, I'd be about
Yes.
an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes, depending on whether there are other cars trying to do that.
right. Don't go Friday in the summertime. Okay, so tell me how Arizona is. Let's start there. And also, we've seen some conventional and some unconventional. So, what you've noticed from the NLCS that has stood out and maybe become historic?
Well, we had quite a game yesterday. The Brandon Pfaadt decision, I knew it was coming. It wasn't a shock. I totally understand it. But am I allowed to say that I totally understand it, but I don't love it? What do you guys think?
Agree.
And yeah.
Leave the guy in.
Well, I did some research on this, as I'm prone to do, right? And in the history of postseason baseball, I could only find one other time when a guy faced 18 hitters, struck out 9 of them, gave up no runs, and then was taken out of a postseason game. And you guys know what it was. It was the Blake Snell game, and that's it. And Blake Snell obviously had a little different pedigree than Brandon Pfaadt. But, I've been watching the Phillies play baseball, destroy baseballs, just bludgeon teams, especially this month. And those are the worst at-bats, one after another, that I've seen them have the whole postseason. Just didn't get a good read on anything coming out of Brandon Pfaadt's hand. And, the eye test, I understand, is not in fashion right now, but if you're using the eye test, there's no way you take that guy out of the game. Are we allowed to use it, though?
Yeah, so my question to you is, are people starting to understand who this guy really is? This guy's an absolute stud. He's coming off of really good performances his last 5, like Erik said earlier. This kid is an absolute stud, and he totes the rubber and said, listen, just give me the ball.
He certainly wanted the ball. And, I've seen people use the metrics, the data, and the third time through the order and all of that. That stuff isn't very relevant, I don't think, just because he's a different pitcher now than he was most of the time he was out there this season. He's been so good since he came back from the minors that second time, right? And, the fastball, 4-seam and 2-seam have such great spin and life. The sweeper comes out of the same slot, and just look at the swings. Look at those swings that the Phillies hitters took after over the first 2 games. Their slash line was essentially Barry Bonds 2000. They were a whole team full of Barry Bonds for 2 games, and then they had no ability to read the stuff coming out of Brandon Pfaadt's hands, and it was impressive.
So sans steroids, you're saying you're not accusing the Phillies of anything, are you? Because this is you won't be allowed in the stadium.
That is not what I did there, Erik Kratz. Good try,
Is there ever going to be a GM/team constructor who's going to bring in a manager who's going to say, hey, you know what? All this third time through the order stuff is going to work for us in the long haul of a season, but in the playoffs, I'm a GM that figures stuff out in the playoffs. Is there ever going to be a GM like that, or they don't have the cojones?
Well, Dusty Baker and Bruce Bochy are managing in the ALCS, right? And Rob Thompson he's a big fan of using your eyes for the most part, but October baseball is different. And I think that is a big part of what we saw yesterday. Um, it's a really fascinating time in our sport. And the way teams think now, to me, is one of the most fun parts of modern baseball. But that doesn't mean we have to like everything. And here's where I come off on this: the things that make great baseball strategy are not necessarily the things that make great entertainment strategy. And the game's just more entertaining when you let that starting pitcher go through the lineup a third time, maybe even a fourth time. But I think what I saw yesterday was Torey Lovullo saying, I have a guy here who hasn't quite earned that, because he did that with Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly. And I asked Torey almost this exact question after the game. I told him, I understand what you did, but you spent a lifetime in the game, and you know what starting pitchers used to do, used to represent in October. So was there any part of you who thought, all right, what we did worked for us, but it's not the best thing for the game? And he kind of conceded that point. And I think he understands our point of view, Erik, but he's got to do what he's got to do to win a game down 2-0. So I'm going to go right back to where I started. I understand it. I just don't have to like it.
I think you would agree with us up here on the board here that baseball is better, more talented, faster, stronger than it's ever been. Yes?
I do agree.
So are we getting in the way of truly exposing that, truly showing that off by these types of moves?
Boy, that's a really interesting question. I do think in a way, yes, because, the moments that we tend to remember from postseason baseball are not the stuff that happens the first two times through the order. It says those games are approaching that dramatic finale. We haven't had a lot of dramatic finales. We did have one in this game. And, there's nothing cooler than that, like the image of Jack Morris looking at Tom Kelly and saying, "Get off my mound! You're not taking me out of this game." And the last starting pitcher allowed to finish a closeout game was Josh Beckett, right? That was 20 years ago. And I remember actually being in the clubhouse talking to Josh Beckett, and the Jack Morris game was on, okay? And he said to me, "Watch this. This is my favorite part of this game. Tom Kelly's about to go to the mound, and he's going to chase him off his mound." And so I don't know if that's we're necessarily talking about athleticism, but we are talking about greatness. And those are moments when great pitchers get to rise up and show us their special level of greatness. And I just miss that.
So, Jayson, can I make the case that I was way more pissed off about the Jose Barrios situation versus Fought? And sure, there's going to be some people that are now just playing it up. People start to take sides like, oh, every time someone's removed, we're going to make a thing out of it. I'm like, okay, this is a rookie. Velo came down a little bit. Obviously, he was pitching well and he was on a low pitch count. But for me, Jose Barrios has been around for a while. I know he's had his ups and downs and inconsistency, and there's problems when he's facing the order, a second or third time through. It just felt like everybody was looking at the same thing, and there was not enough of a leash. Plus, that was after 3 innings?
Not even. It was into the third.
Into the third. And what was Fought? Fought was at
5 2.
He was 5 2/3.
To me, it's such a different case, and I feel like this yesterday was a win for those that are like, you got to follow the script. See, that worked out perfectly for Arizona. And I'm like, cool. But the overall topic, like what we're going over here, is that you have $100 million pitcher in Jose Barrios who's got good stuff, and he is super streaky, but he was on one of those good streaks. So screw the script for a few minutes, okay? Let's ride this. And if that changes, okay. And I get it. The team didn't score runs, but I think the Barrios one is what really bothered most people. Were you like, guys, come on, when that happened?
Yeah, of course. One time through the order for a pitcher like that versus 2 times through the order for Brandon Fought. Of course, those are 2 different things. But, you mentioned the magic word, and the magic word is script. Scott, you ever had a conversation with Buck Showalter and used that word game script? Okay.
Actually, I have. I've done some games with him, Jayson, and
Right.
and it's a great way to get him fired up.
Yeah, it doesn't take much. Just put in a quarter, and he does the rest. I've had this conversation with him so many times, and the question he always asks is, "What if the game doesn't follow the script?" That was the Jose Barrios game following the script. Don't we know the answer to that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and that's what happens most of the time. How often does a game actually follow the script? Almost never. Like, I get it. Like, they're going over a million different scenarios, right? You guys could maybe speak to this better. Did you observe scripts when you were playing?
Yes.
Yeah,
You did?
for sure.
Yes.
So tell us exactly how it went down. Would they be like, this is the exact pitching plan, and if this happens, this is what we do. If this happens, this is what we do, right?
2014 Royals. We're in San Francisco. Ned Yost looks down and he goes, "Oh, yeah, we got to put in Kelvin Herrera. It's the 6th inning." Ned Yost never looked at the fact that Kelvin Herrera's spot was going to come up in a National League game to hit. He got the 3 outs. He looked down and he goes, "Oh, crap. I saw the bench coach. Now Pedro Gafal go, oh, he's got a hit," who technically wasn't the bench coach. They were talking over Wakamatsu, who was the bench coach. They didn't listen to him. Anyway, that's another story. But they looked down and they were like, "Oh, crap, he's got a hit." So who did we send up there in San Francisco? Oh, Kelvin Herrera, like this. Fortunately, he went back out for a 2nd inning like he had done every other time during the entire season. He was the 6th and 7th inning guy, got his outs. We ended up winning the game, so it wasn't a big story. But I sat on the bench looking at it and going, holy crap, he screwed this up. I was talking to Johnny Giovatello was standing right next to me. And I said, "Gee," because he hadn't been in the National League yet. I said, "Hey, this is where we double switch. We had just made our last out with Moustakas. They could have put Jayson Nix in the game. Nixie could have come in, played defense for him. It would have been a double switch. Kelvin's fine. He doesn't have to hit." They didn't. And it kind of got washed under the rug because we won the game.
Wow. There you go. And that's how a script works.
Well, all right. See, I don't, the whole 6th inning, 7th inning, 8th inning guy script, that's totally shredded now, right? Nobody uses that script for good reason. I understand the idea of matching up different pitchers with different pockets of the lineup. Of course you do. And it's just a matter of picking the spot, right? The baseball, look, my whole career is baseball doesn't follow scripts. Okay, that's what I write about more than any other topic. So let's keep that in mind.
Yes.
I want to go to the Phillies for a little bit. I've asked this question before, but you think about like what helps a team out, hitting, pitching, defense, that kind of stuff. I want to talk about the crowd there. And you've been around many ballparks in your career. You've been around the craziness, the loudness. Is this Phillies factor of being at home or the real deal? Because from watching on TV, it looks like it's absolute insanity.
It's insanity. It really is. I haven't lived in Philadelphia my whole life, but most of my life. And there's really never been anything quite like this where nobody ever sits down for 3 hours. My daughter was at the game the other night, and after the 7th inning stretch, she texted me and she said, "We got to change the name of this thing to the 7th inning rest." Because everybody stands for 3 hours. And, it's not just about the noise, Todd, because, when people say, "Oh, it's louder than it was when they won in 2008. Well, I forget to carry around my personal decibel meter. So I'm pretty sure it was loud then. But here is the difference. If you go back to 2008 and those years, everybody sitting in those seats was scarred by 50 years of losing, of all the times they almost won but didn't. And that generation no longer fills the seats. The people who sit there now or stand there now, they're people who've seen the Phillies win the World Series. They've seen the Eagles win the Super Bowl. They've seen both of them get to another World Series and a Super Bowl. Life is good now. They're not as scarred. And, the whole thing with Trey Turner, I think, was an example of how people are starting to understand you can use the passion that Philadelphia is always so famous for good. Okay, you don't have to necessarily use it to boo and to spew and to let people know how nervous you are about everything. And I think that's really what we are seeing.
Is the last thing that Bryce Harper needs on his legacy is the World Series? And is it a tainted legacy if he doesn't win a World Series championship?
Well, wouldn't you look at how he's done in October and said it wasn't exactly his fault? He ranks number 3 all time now in postseason slugging and postseason OPS, and the only guys ahead of him are Ruth and Gehrig. So baseball just a little different to me. This isn't the NBA where you have to win to validate. It's a little different than playing quarterback in the NFL where you have to win to validate it. Baseball, you can only do so much. And so, look, he's obviously obsessed with this and energized by this. But, I tend to look at the full body of work when I try to take stock of this stuff. And I'd have a hard time saying if the Phillies didn't win the World Series again this year, you could blame it on him.
Let me ask you this question here, because a lot of people are saying, the top teams aren't in it. It's kind of been, a little bit of a boring playoffs. What would you say to that? Because I feel like these teams that are in it, actually, it's pretty good for baseball. So on the contrary to that, what's your beliefs and how do you think this playoffs have been going?
Well, these are two separate topics. The first topic is I always look at this as it's not my problem. Okay, who gets there? I enjoy it when some team like the Diamondbacks shows up on this stage because it's really a chance to see what Ketel Marte is all about, and what Corbin Carroll is all about. And these are life-changing, career-changing, career-defining moments for guys like that. And, we spend so much of our time talking about 6 teams, 8 teams, 10 teams. And when some other team shows up, I think that's actually good for this sport. But the other side of it is how have I enjoyed the playoffs so far? We haven't had enough great games. The fact that yesterday was the first walk-off of the entire postseason. The fact that before that game in Arizona, we hadn't had a lead change in a week at any point in any game. We hadn't had a lead change after the 4th inning in a week and a half. The sport's the greatest when you have these magical games. We're still looking for our first magical game.
What's your favorite stat? I'm putting you on the spot here. What's your favorite stat from this postseason? Because you always have the greatest, one-line blips of stats. And so I'm putting you on the spot. What is your favorite from this postseason that kind of encapsulates what this postseason has been so far?
Okay, I gotta give this some thought because there's a lot of stats that I tend to spew out there.
It's a lot of pressure, Kratz.
It's a lot of pressure.
Oh,
it's like saying
a lot of pressure without
pressure, baby.
You can use recency bias and just be like, "Oh, here's one the other day that I really liked," right?
How about Evan Carter, man? He's a beast.
Well, I mean, I haven't been covering that series, but I got to think about this. The Michael Carter catch, that was an incredible moment because when that one happened, I started huddling with my friends from Stats and saying, how are we going to demonstrate that no game has ever ended this way? And so we started going through every postseason game in history. And the fact that no outfielder had ever started a game-ending double play in the history of postseason baseball, and then that play happened, that still kind of gives me goosebumps, that play. And I wasn't actually there that night. I was watching my house. I live in Philadelphia. My family's all Phillies fans, and they're all cursing and screaming. And I'm all saying, what a freaking play. So I got it. I got in trouble with my family just for appreciating that moment. But when something happens in one of these games that we've never seen before, right? That's what gets my heart thumping. And then there's that whole Austin Riley part of it too. Where did he come from? How did we ever have it? 8-5-3 double play. It's just amazing.
Yeah, 8-5-3 double plays don't happen all the time.
It can't happen.
No. And the Michael Harris emotion too afterward was incredible. Obviously, I don't know if we want to go into what happened all the way after that when we got into
the whole attaboy,
into the clubhouse and all of that, which was fun. We loved it, by the way, as you can imagine.
Yeah,
we love the back and forth, of course, and there should be a lot more of that. Is there anything that you would change, or are you one of the complainers about the postseason format? And it doesn't even have to be the long layoff part, just like anything at all, right? If you could change right now, because you're a big part of always writing about, rule changes, and obviously the pitch clock's been awesome. You've been writing about that for years. Anything right now with the playoff format that you definitely like or don't like for the future?
I am so tired of blaming the format. I'm so tired of it. Aren't the Astros the answer to every one of those complaints? Where last year, right, they had the 5-day layoff, came back and didn't lose a game to the World Series. They had a 5-day layoff, swept. Had a 4-day layoff, swept again, okay, and then won the World Series. This year, 5-day layoff. What happened on the first pitch? Jose Altuve went deep on the first pitch. So I'm tired of blaming the format. I'm tired of blaming the layoff. The one thing I would kind of like to see is reseeding. I think reseeding is the fairest thing for the great teams. So I would do that. And I don't buy the idea that logistically it's not possible. I make a lot of reservations for travel for the postseason, not knowing where I'm going. I know you can do this. I know that this year, all right, I'm covering the National League. And if this should go 7, it means we won't know where the World Series will begin until about 12 hours before we have to fly there for media day. Okay, so everything is possible if you let it be possible. Don't tell me it's not logistically possible.
Hey, are you a big believer in human element umpire-wise? Do you like that the KBO is coming out and they're, going to have that strike zone where you can, hey, it wasn't a strike. Can you look at it on the monitors? I mean, I like that. But I don't believe in getting rid of the umpires. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I don't want to get rid of them either. And I've spent a lot of time looking into automatic ball strike systems and talking to players, managers, umpires union about it. And we've had a year now of people living with it in AAA. And the thing that's amazing is we now, I think, are at the point where technologically we could pretty much get every call right. And the people who live with it for a year, they don't want to live in that world. Like Planet Robot Up is not where they want to live. Some sort of challenge system is the way to go. When you just actually watch how the games are played, and you guys are dialed into this, when you watch how the games are played, when it's 12-1 in the 6th inning, like you want the umpire to be able to maintain some control of the pace of the game. There are as good as computerized umpiring may be, as accurate as it may be on one level, we haven't lived on that planet where pitchers and hitters think every pitch that is technically a strike or technically a ball is really a strike or a ball. And I have a problem with those moments which come along with this automatic ball strike system where literally no one in the park thinks that last pitch was a strike except a robot. I don't think that's the way to go.
Agree.
There you go. That's music to Todd Father's ears right there.
Thank you very much.
He loves it. He loves it. He was waiting for that. Well, Jayson, it was awesome catching up with you. Enjoy the series out there. We appreciate it. Obviously, always love reading everything that you've got on The Athletic, so we'll continue to do that. And good to see you. These guys have been wanting to get you on for a while.
Well, Love all three of you guys. A real pleasure to join you. Seriously.
Right back at you.
Thanks,
Thank
brother.
you, Jayson. We'll see you soon, okay?
He's one of the OGs.
Yes, he is.
Jizzles.
He's
Yes.
definitely one of the OGs. One of the
And in this area, too, right?
definitely in this area. Maybe that's why I have him higher ranked than some people would. But like this area, I always saw him when I was here playing for the Phillies.
Yes.
But you saw him growing up. He was breaking in for me, and like he's at top 5. We talk about top 5.
Yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Players.
I was going to ask, is he a
He's
Hall of Famer? Yeah.
Yes,
Speaking of Hall of Famer.
he is. Actually, we're going to go to that right now. So it's a little standing O time to go over some other news because things get buried during the playoffs. It's just going to happen, which is fine. I actually think for the most part, and MLB does a good job of this, everything should be November to January, including this news. I don't know the whole protocol, but Bob Nightingale tweeted, "Congratulations to the 8 finalists for the Baseball Hall of Fame contemporary ballot. The managers are Lou Piniella, Jim Leyland, Cito Gaston, and Davey Johnson. Executive Hank Peters and Bill White. And then the umps, your boy Joe West and Ed Montag." So that's the only thing. I'll do my one little 5-second complaint, and then we can actually praise these guys. But, can we just announce that on November 8th when nothing else is going on?
Give these guys the standing ovation they deserve.
Well, because then it leads off shows, right? It leads off a baseball show like this one. It's towards the top. It's getting more time. It's getting more attention. It's maybe even interviewing those dudes. Right now, we're deep in the playoffs.
We have so much news to talk about. Don't give us something that could have waited till November 5th.
Agreed.
Yes.
Like the awards, when the NBA gives out the MVP award before the second round or before the third round, you're like, oh, wow, congratulations. Hey, we got to get locked in.
Yeah.
There's so much to talk about today. We're not even hitting everything that we should be talking about.
Of course.
Give them
correctly,
the love they deserve.
because you're talking about, especially this. The awards, I'm fine with, the Gold Glove Awards came out the other day, and then the MVP, finalists. Not awards. The finalists came out. The Players' Choice.
Well, and also
finalists.
I'll say, right, finalists.
To me, that kind of stuff is fine during the playoffs. These are lifetime achievements. These dudes just didn't have 2 or 3 good seasons.
And also, give voters some time to vote. They got some stuff going on.
I don't know how the voting works for that.
Yeah, I don't know
but
the process.
just give those people their time in the sense of holy cow, you did something awesome. Joe West, you had an incredible career, very charismatic. You broke records as an umpire, there's 2 games today. There was 2 games yesterday. It could not have been a worse time to bring this out.
This is one of the best.
Oh, Joe.
Bumgarner, you ain't staring me down. Yeah, you want to try me? Yeah, look. Oh, Rajay, heads up, babe.
Got him.
No. Rajay,
Oh, Joe.
I'm gonna need some help.
Look at Hector Neris. Hector, you ain't picking him up on your own.
Hector Neris is pretty big dude. He's pretty strong.
There's so many iconic moments. And to me, this stuff should be celebrated.
Ooh.
Oh, that was Voter that hit him, too. I didn't even realize that.
Oh,
That's your human element. See, that's all good for
right in
me.
the gutter.
Foul ball.
Foul ball. Yeah, don't hurt me.
You forget. I mean, he had a lot of good moments.
He is a classic.
People might not have loved all the calls,
The
but
guy can sing.
He was on here already, too.
The guy can sing.
FT.
Live.
Second umpire we had on here.
that's right. We had him
That's
pretty
awesome.
early on. We'll do some more in the offseason.
Give those guys the praise. It's what they deserve.
Put yourself in their shoes. Todd Frazier is going on that same ballot for whatever you want to be put on.
Not going to happen, but go ahead.
Okay. Do you want it to be announced on the same day that there was 2 games the night before and there's 2 more games the same day?
You could wait.
It's a footnote.
Yeah, just wait, man.
It's a footnote.
I'd be like,
and it shouldn't be a footnote.
Thanks.
You're right.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
Nato.
you're right.
What
These
time's
are
the game
lifetime
tonight? That's cool,
achievement
but
awards.
What time's the game tonight? That's cool.
Yeah.
Exactly. We could show. I mean, just 2 more examples here. Sweet Lou.
Sweet Lou Piniella. That guy was awesome too as well. Got to meet him in Cincinnati. Oh,
He was so calm always. You know how some managers now you walk into their office and they've got the candles and they're kicking back. I mean, that was basically Lou. Right?
As he freaks out. Lou was
See, that's the element
Dude,
I
his
love.
tirades
right
were incredible. Incredible.
You beaking me. You're beaking me. Oh,
How-
yeah. Yeah. Let
Who's
him-
like that now?
like this.
Yeah.
The closest,
Yeah.
Booney is the closest.
Yeah.
True.
And his dad was, he grew up around these guys. My favorite Lou Piniella story, I won't say who it was because he feels like it's embarrassing Lou, but it was spring training. It was when he was with the Cubs. And my buddy goes in, he gets called into the office. Lou's sitting across there. It's early morning in spring training. And he goes, hey, Joe. He goes, Joe, you're, hate to tell you, but, we just got to send you down. You're going to get some innings down there. We'll build you up, get your arm strength going. He said, it's just one of those things. He said he never looked up. He said he never looked up the whole time. And he has his head down. He's like, it's just one of those things, good luck. He goes, I stood up. I reached over to give him a handshake, and he goes, thanks, but I'm a position player. Shakes his hand and leaves. So he liked his veterans.
Solid.
He liked his veterans.
Incredible. Incredible.
Probably one
I mean, he
about
wasn't. He was number 65. He goes, I know, I get it. I was 65, 67 in spring training.
Oh,
but,
that's a
hey.
beauty.
But still,
I would have been like, well, I mean, we could use you in the 9th in a mop-up game sometime.
He
So
ended
go
up-
get those innings. Sport.
he ended up getting called up to the
Wow.
big leagues for a little bit that year and had a little bit of a big league career. But it is hilarious.
I will say
Hilarious.
this on that story, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. There are still several managers in the game right now because you can tell when they do interviews. You ask them about some younger players that they maybe saw in spring training or that are in the minors, and some of them don't know much. I mean,
No.
obviously, you can pick on someone like Dusty, say, who doesn't pay attention to like the farm system probably as
Sure.
much as someone else. But there's other dudes. There's even a couple newer managers where if you ask them like, hey, what's coming up next? And you hear the interview, I've heard it because I hear them
You gotta
on
roll
other
with it.
shows.
You got to roll with it.
They don't say much. They're just like, oh, I let the front office do their thing, and we just meet a lot of guys in spring training. So
Gotta
I'm like,
roll.
you're giving me nothing. Like, what it reminds me of when I would do the futures game, which is the best prospects. The coaches, I actually made. Did you hear about this? Did we talk about this once? I made an executive decision because I called the futures game for like a few years in a row, and we would spend an hour, very close to game time, before the game, doing manager meetings, which we talk about on this show all the time. When you're broadcasting a game, they are great for insight. It's one of my favorite parts of the job, period. But the manager meetings for the futures game are with two like celebrity dudes, right? Like if it's in Denver, it's Dante Bichette. I'm just throwing names
Torrey
out
Hunter
there,
or
right?
something, yeah.
Right.
So you sit with them and you're like, all right,
Erik
what can you
Kratz.
tell me, Skip? And they don't say they don't know. They're not paying attention to
Good
some
bunch of
random
young core
team's
coming up here
prospects.
that's going to help. a
Some of
bunch
them fake
teams.
it. Okay, there's
Listen.
been one or two that go, "Oh, are you kidding me?" He's like, "I just showed up. I was out late last night. I'm just having a good time. I'm telling
I'd
every
rather
kid,
have that answer,
go
yeah.
get them." And then we would just reminisce about some other random stories and talk about the game. And then they'd be like, "Oh, we're rushing. We gotta record the open. We gotta do this. We gotta do that." I'm like, "Why did we just spend an hour literally doing nothing with two dudes that are great to talk to, but they don't know anything about the game that we're about to call?"
Scott's like, I just got to hang out with Dante Bichette. That was awesome. But
Which
he
I
was-
love. It's great, but it's like
That's not what you're.
we're
you're
about
at work.
to call a game.
You're at work. You're trying to
I'm a
do
professional.
right. You're a
So
professional.
that's what it made me think of. And I feel like there's some managers still in the game that they let the front office do their thing. They're like, whoever comes up, I'll be the psychologist for them. In the meantime, I don't know crap.
And it is a prime example of when you're on the IL, you better do everything you can as a player to get back because they don't have time. Managers do not have time to be like, oh, gee willikers, how did Jimmy John do down in the bushes today?
You're just hungry.
I'm gonna watch Joey T throw the baseball. Wow,
No time
neato.
for
I'm
that.
watching all these. No, they don't got time for that because there's so much going on.
Ish don't think so.
No, that's a story we'll tell another time. But
But you could have a combo with your front office. Like
They do.
I know they do. If
They
you're
do.
tight with your front office team,
yes,
they talk every day essentially.
Yes.
The manager and
Yes.
the
Yes.
GM or whoever's
from
the
what I
point
heard,
person.
Yes,
Yes. And obviously there's some just text, hey, you're going to have a dude coming up right now. This is who he is, whatever. But you could do a check-in. Hey, who do we got on the horizon? Who's like real good? Who's maybe coming up for us? When I do interviews, because also managers, we talk about the psychology component. They're also spokesmen. They are talking to the media multiple times per day. And sometimes in those interviews, especially if it's, say, a national interview, they'll say, like, who you got? Who's next? Who's going to be the big player coming up for this ball club? So if you get a little bit of that information, you're going to sound smarter. And teams like to push that all the time. Oh, we got young prospects coming up, especially the crappy
unless you're
teams.
the Orioles, I mean, they got everybody coming.
Right. Oh, it's once a week.
It's the manager's job to learn these guys and get to know these guys in spring training. Hey, I remember this guy. I texted AJ Hinch. Brennan Hennefy got called up like September 15th for the Tigers. And I had texted AJ Hinch in spring training, like, hey, this guy, Brennan Hennefy, he can really throw the ball. Like, he keeps it in a strike zone, sinks it, slides it. He went up to him. He talked to him. And then he heard little reports throughout the whole season. September 17th, 15th, he gets called up to the big leagues. He's like, yeah, I'm excited to see AJ. Text me. He's like, yeah, I'm excited to see him stay in the zone with his sinker slider. It's got a really great separation. Like, he knows who the players are coming up through because of, yes, what they tell him, but also what they learn in spring training, getting to that contact, that face-to-face, that's the name of the game. It's not X's and O's. It's really about how do you manage and improve the roster that you've been given.
And Hinch is probably the opposite of what I'm talking about, too.
The exact opposite.
He can probably name me, give me a scouting report on most of his legitimate minor league prospects that are going to be impact players.
It's more at the Tigers than it would be if he was the manager of the Yankees. It's more at the Pirates if he were the manager of the Phillies. You know what I mean? Like, you have to know who's coming up because they're probably coming up. When he got that job, we talked about the fact that he knew their minor league system and who the pitchers were, who the Mannings were, who the Scoobles were, who those type of people.
Yeah.
You know who doesn't have to know as much? Like, I can throw his name out there because he's joked about it. Brian Snitker. I mean,
he has all the prospects in the big leagues making $100 million.
They're same lineup almost every day the whole year.
And then he screwed it up and switched it up in the first game of the playoffs.
Yeah, that was it. That was it.
On this list, too, Jimmy Leland is on this list. Smoking heaters, super secret heaters, where it's not even like you don't even see it's in there. It's just in his hands.
During games, right?
During games. He used to get – they said he
wear cleats, too, metal cleats.
There's so many stories, and I met him. I met him when – I forget where I was, but I met him, and he's this tiny little fireball of a man, and there's legendary stories about him, like to the point where he would smoke heaters oh my gosh, he just went after Kevin Gross.
I don't remember
went
that.
After the pitcher. I've never seen that.
Well, he's got the metal cleats, so you got to be careful.
But he would smoke heaters in Veterans Stadium, and they would fine him because they eliminated it inside buildings in Pennsylvania at some point. And he was like, "Oh, I'll pay the fine." Stories of like $200,000 in cigarettes that he'd buy. But my favorite story coming up through the Blue Jays. He was the manager, I think, of the Tigers, and this is totally tells me where, this is a black market story. Is it true? I don't know because we don't have video, but he was the manager in the big leagues for a World Series team, and somebody had died at the game. A fan had fallen outside of the stadium and died. And so it was game 4 or something. So I hear about this story in the Blue Jays because we would always say part. Oh, it's all part. Well, Jimmy Leland in this interview they asked him, they said, well, hey, what do you think about a guy dying in the stadium? And he goes, he didn't know anything about it. Like, it was totally ambushed. Like, I ambushed Jayson about the favorite stat. And he goes, oh, well, They go, no, like somebody died, fell out of the stadium in the 5th inning or something. And he goes, oh, yeah, it's the World Series. People die. It's all part of it. On to the next one. We need to find this video. It is a Zapruder type of film. And it just became something with the Blue Jays. Jimmy Leland was the impetus of this story. Like, we would say anytime anything crappy would happen in the minor leagues, we were like, well, that's part. And it just became part. They had shirts and everything that said part. It's all part of it. Anyway, completely off topic Jimmy Leland story.
No, that's
I like
incredible.
When he went after Bonds in spring training. Remember he had the argument with Barry? That was a good
man.
one. Didn't take anybody's crap. But
Pirates.
Pirates, yep.
Yeah. Forgot
Yeah,
about
kids.
that.
Barry Bonds played for the Pirates at one point.
Yes, they did.
Okay.
Yes, he did.
Won 3 MVPs of the league
Whoopsie.
with the Pirates.
With the Pirates.
One
and
of
then
them.
he hit the weight room
It's a long time ago.
and won 4 more.
There you go.
Keep going. You're hot.
So anyway, I felt like we gave some of them some time, so that was important to us. Anyway, we are waiting for Kike Hernandez to join us next. There are some questions
Kike.
today, so there's some back and forth in the chat. Ed, who's one of the regulars, said, "I'd like to see this. If one team has 5 more, Ed, I'm just gonna preface this. You're gonna get Kratz pissed off right now. Ready?
Ed already texted me this. I know Ed.
Oh, this is a personal.
He
connection.
already did. He's trying to he's trying to get it out there in the game. Ed, I did not respond to that text because I knew you were going to put it on
Well,
the
guess
thread.
what? I'm bringing it on the show because
Yep.
I have heard it on in other places, mostly from fans, and I can tell you many reasons why it won't happen. And I'll start with a business reason. Anyway, some people are like, "Can you
Go
actually
ahead.
tell
I
us what it
haven't
is?"
even heard.
Yeah.
What the
Okay.
heck is it?
So Ed goes, if one team has 5 more regular season wins than their opponent, they have to win 1 less game in the series, aka 100-win team versus 90-win team in a 5-game series. You would start with a 2-game lead in this series. Okay, so did the Braves cracked 100, right?
They were 14 games ahead, so it would revert back of the Phillies. So revert back down to they'd have a 2-game, only to 10. If they had gotten to 15,
The series is over.
the series is over. That's my whole.
But even before that, let's say it's a cap, right? It can
Right.
only be 2-0.
Yep.
That's the most that you can go. So it would have been Braves Phillies, Braves up 2-0 in the series.
Series is over.
Series
Game
is
2.
over. So I'm going to give you the primary reason why it'll never happen, and then we can get into any of the logistics while we have a moment. It's a business. Fox pays billions of dollars. I think Turner does too, right?
1 billion.
Not sure they would love. Hey, Braves Phillies going to be awesome, right? But it might only be 1 game because it's 2-0 already, right? Because of the
Yeah.
regular season games.
That won't happen anywhere.
No, that's not good for biz. It's not good for
That's your
entertainment.
boy.
Think about the entertainment factor,
Good
right? Like it's an epic battle. It's the 5-4 win with the Harris catch. And you're like, and boom, there's the series. That's it. All right, let's move to the next one. And here's the other thing that I think people are missing about the juggernauts, the heavyweights entering the playoffs. There is a difference between regular season ball and postseason ball. There also is momentum in the sport. There are also injuries in the sport. Just the record doesn't tell the whole story of a team. It helps to tell the
You
story.
play at a certain time when
Bryce
you're hot
Harper
against
wasn't
the
on the
team.
team for the
No,
first month. And we can make this
There's a lot of
case
stuff
up
that
for
comes into
anybody.
play.
You know what I'm saying? It's the whole point is that you get through the marathon and you're such a strong team that then you are also built for the postseason. Postseason often rewards stars. David
Yes.
Ortiz talked about that a little bit too. So, sure, new stars can emerge, but teams with star power, and if that star power is healthy, it can really help. That's why, last year more than this year, the Phillies were a top-heavy team, right? They've gotten a little more length and more depth this year and better D and all of that. But last year, it was just, hey, we're coming at you with 4 or 5 stars in our lineup, in our bullpen, in our rotation, right? Now they've built more around that because they keep spending and they keep developing talent. But that's what it looks like. And my thing last year that I kept saying about the Phillies, I was like, and those dudes are all playing right now. They're here. They got stars and they're healthy and they're playing. That's it, right? So I think the problem with the Braves-Phillies conversation has been, oh, the Braves got screwed. By what? The Phillies are just better.
They lost.
They're
Yeah.
better, period.
And
You can't look at the regular season. Oh, let's look at the season series. What?
Yep.
When the number
Right now,
5
they're
starters faced off against each other? That's not how the playoffs work. I don't care about that. It's the same thing with the Dodgers. And the Dodgers had a great regular season, and they always do. This year, to me and to many others, their chances of winning a World Series were incredibly slim. I think it was like kind of fun, like playing with house money Dodgers, because you're like, who is pitching for this team in the postseason this year? And that is the difference. They can get away with that during a regular season with those young guys, less pressure, right? This is about talent. And also, you're facing the best of the best.
There.
And that goes both ways.
That's it.
So a dude that hits dingers in the regular season and doesn't strike out as much might suddenly get lost in the playoffs because he's only facing 1, 2, 3 starters and 1 through 4 in the bullpen. Different game.
Nobody is consistently hitting 1s and 2s on legitimate teams. Nobody's making a Freddie Freeman type of season out of 1s and 2s. And I just bring up Freddie Freeman. I'm not saying he crushes 3s, 4s, and 5s, but you make your hay against the 3, 4s, and 5s. And those guys, Freddie Freeman plays every single day. So he's facing 1 through 5 in the rotation. And they are bringing in lefties to face him. They are building bullpens because Freddie Freeman is in your division. I get that. The postseason is completely different. That is why today I'm tailing you on your Phillies pick because the Phillies should win this game.
Yeah.
Based on who they're going to face, they're facing teams that you're going to win in the regular season against because you're already a good enough team.
Yeah.
Now, it's like saying, wow, you're the best player in high school. And then you go to college, all of a sudden all the best high school players are playing against each other. Then you get drafted, then all the best players are playing against each other. And then it goes even smaller and smaller. You're up in AA, and you've already eliminated all these other guys. That's what happens in the playoffs. So we need to stop trying to come up with ways to incentivize the regular season victories, incentivize getting to the playoffs, and then you build your team to win in the playoffs. And I think teams are going to, and I think the Phillies are the first ones to do it, and I think the Braves and the Dodgers, I know the Dodgers because Max was on talking about that they're talking about this, and if they're legitimately talking about it, that means they're talking about their starters and going, oh boy, we need somebody at the trade deadline. Eddie Rodriguez, Eduardo Rodriguez. No, you're not coming. They knew they needed somebody. They knew what they had for. They're going to win in the regular season. They didn't need anything. They wanted something for the playoffs, and so teams are going to start manipulating that. Are you a playoff player? Chase Utley one time asked me. He goes, "We were 2 games out in 2012." He goes, "You think our team? You think we go to the playoffs with this person playing this position?" And I was like, he goes, just be honest with me. I was like, I'll tell it to his face. I'm like, yeah, I know you will, Chase. Like, and
is that the player that had the stomach ache that didn't want to play?
It was not. It was not because that person was in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I said, no. And I never thought about it before then. Like, you need dudes that are ready to absolutely get after it in the playoffs. You don't need people who are like, man, we won 100 games. We need to be in there. No, I don't hear any players doing that. I haven't heard one player step up. Strider stepped up and was like, no, we got to be better. We got to learn how to execute in these situations. Snicker was like, we got to be better. I can't be doing this or that. Players and staff have not come out yet. I have not heard one come out and say, oh, this layoff was tough. It's all these helicopter fans, writers that are saying that, the layoff needs to change. Reseeding, I'm okay with. I'm okay with that. That's another incentive to win games in the regular season.
That's what I was going to finish off. The reseeding, I like what Jayson said about that. That's a good idea. After the first round, the lower seed goes and play the higher seed. I like that.
And that also just leads to the best matchups coming later on or as late as possible in the postseason. That's why that also stands out. Yeah, from an entertainment perspective. Again, going on Braves-Phillies. That would have been in the CS instead of the DS, and I think people would have enjoyed seeing that as an NLCS matchup and as a 7-game series.
Last year, I don't think the Phillies beat the Mets because the Mets had their number in the season in the sense that not like the Braves had the Phillies number this year in the season. The Mets did not let the Phillies score runs during the season.
Yeah.
They had a dominant pitching approach against the Phillies. They never had to face them. Mets were out before before they ever got to him.
Right, which makes it important to do what you got to do during the regular season. But the point is, it's a different game. It's usually a copycat league, and either way, obviously, if the Astros win, whatever. But if it's Rangers Phillies in the World Series, those are two teams recently that have done a lot. And the offseason, at the trade deadline, there's going to be other front offices that are like, I wish it didn't happen that way because we don't have the resources to do that. Do you think that some front offices are like that, where they're just like, we would like to try and create a scenario where the regular season numbers play out the way the playoffs should go? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because it's easier for them.
Yeah, it's easier for them to predict and put together and not spend as much if you've got a hole and you've got a better farm system, right? And you can bring a dude up to fill in. That same dude is not necessarily the dude you want in the playoffs, but it's like, oh, this is better depth for me in the regular season, which the Dodgers have done brilliantly. They always have depth on their big league roster, and they always have prospect depth. But it's not turning into consistent winning right now.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, when you were talking there, all my mind was going to was front offices. I heard a front office person say, oh, we're not going to push all in to make the wild card. That just doesn't seem worth it.
Because, the wild card can only win the World Series many times in the past 15 years or get to the World Series.
2014, we were playing the Giants in the World Series. Game 7, we lost by a run. They won the World Series. 2 wild card teams.
Last year,
Philadelphia Phillies. This year, Philadelphia Phillies. A good wild card team, absolutely.
Sure. Against the Diamondbacks, a wild card team. Rangers, wild card team. Well, we saw that. I mean, we haven't talked about them in a minute, but the Seattle Mariners trade deadline was weird, a disaster. Anytime you're buying and selling at the trade deadline, what kind of message are you sending your team? Hey, we're going to take our top 2 reliever, right? And our 9th inning guy, and we're going to trade him. Go get him.
They would have loved to have Paul Sewald for one of those games that they lost.
They had so many tight games the last few weeks of the season. They would have won an extra game.
And they have
or
a
two.
great bullpen. They had a wealth of relief arms, and they create relief arms. I get that. You still need that guy. Who do you want? Think about what the Diamondbacks have right now. Who would have been their closer right now? Ginkel? They would have gone Thompson, Ginkel? You're going to see the weakness in the middle of their bullpen that they have to patchwork together. They're fortunate that they got Sewald.
Mm-hmm.
They added. They didn't. Yes, they subtracted some of the guys. Like who did they pick up? They picked up Rojas. Was it Rojas that they picked up?
Who?
Yes.
Jose Rojas,
Yep.
the Mariners?
No. Josh Rojas.
Josh Rojas.
Dom Canzone.
Who had
and
some
a
big
prospect.
hits. So that's awesome.
Well, that was their thing. They were like, we need more contact. We need to switch things up on offense. I mean, it still didn't work out for them. The offense was not great. And yes, you can have both. It's called trading prospects. You lost for a while to be able to do that, So just throwing that out there.
Yep.
All right. So no Kike. He's not picking up. We're always real with people. He's not answering.
It's okay.
Stuff happens.
Yep. Stuff happens. We'll get him next week.
You're deep into your off season.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly. All right. So 2 things. Yeah. Let's do grid and then we'll slap.
Ready.
You're right. It's been a while. Let's get ready to play. Immaculate grid. We get 5 minutes, but don't start it yet because we have to. You can absorb it for a sec, and then once we start. Okay.
Hey, what does it say under the
3 ERA
less than
season?
3 ERA?
Well, here I'll read the easier column: Yankees, Cleveland, Nationals, and your top column that has to cross with that is Twins. Good luck with my eyesight.
Oh
Go
no,
ahead.
it says less than 3 ERA in a season, and then only one team. But I can't see the small lettering.
Yeah, just only played for one team.
Play with one team their entire career.
And then the small lettering.
One team their entire career. They're getting
I
a
can
little
look at this
more intricate with
Career.
their descriptions. You notice that?
I
They
like
are.
it, but I don't. But I like the
I like it.
last one. That's a good one to figure out.
But like for example, one team your whole career. So you're looking for
Derek Jeter.
Derek Jeter, Joey Votto. I'm
Yeah.
saying
What?
not for this.
No, you're looking for like John Bowker, only played for one team.
Exactly.
That's who you're looking for.
Bowker
there.
was on the
That's where-
Giants, right?
He was on Giants and Phillies, so he doesn't
Oh,
count.
okay.
But
It would
John
be
But I
great.
know what you're saying. You're trying to find
So
a
it could
dude
be, if you think about it, if they had the Tigers on there, my brother played 2 weeks with the Tigers.
Yes.
And that was it.
on the big league club.
That would be like .0 negative
That is
5.
exactly what you want. That is
0.01.
exactly what you want.
so wait for it. I like that one. I like the only one team.
I'm going to go Yankees Twin. Can we start? Sorry.
Yeah, 5 minutes on the clock, and let's go. Yes.
I mean, I'm thinking Joey Gallo.
Yeah, but that's
Oh.
real recent. It's really fresh.
It's really high.
LaTroy Hawkins. Sorry, excuse
LaTroy
me.
Hawkins is a good one.
He's a good one.
You want to start there? Let's do that.
Your favorite guy.
Mine? I actually do love me
Is
some
that
Yeah,
10
LaTroy.
or is that 1.0?
Oh, one. Yes.
It's a 1.
All right, I'll
That's a
take
good
that.
start. Okay, Twins in Cleveland.
Ah,
Twins and Nats for me. Didn't Christian Guzman? Did he play for both?
Yeah.
He
good.
did.
I like that one.
Do you like that one?
Love that one.
Okay,
How about
That boy
it's right here
slap
from the
the ball
noggin.
off
And
the
actually, I
plate.
got to go to the chat because I know
how about Cleveland
3%.
and Twins?
Nice.
We talked about it today. Jim told me.
Little high.
You think it's high?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be high.
No. Then don't do them.
Yeah.
So, AJ Early coming in on the chat with a suggestion for a Nats player that had a sub-3 ERA. John Roush.
John Roush. I was thinking of.
Because you're doing relievers, right? There's no minimum here
I was thinking
on
of the
appearances
Chief.
or on starts or whatever.
I was thinking of the
What are you
Chief.
thinking?
Cordero, their closer.
Did he get sub-3?
I don't know. I just assume every.
We got to go a little faster here.
Okay. We
How
got to pick
about
it up.
Cleveland versus and Twins? Burt Blyleven.
Sure.
I know he played. Yeah, let's try him.
Did he play for both teams?
Yeah, he
I mean, I
did.
know he played for Minnesota.
That's going to be high.
What is that?
7%? Okay. Not bad.
Okay.
All right, ready for Roush?
Yeah, go John Roush.
John Roush? Yep.
Yep.
What we got? Hope it's right.
Good
Does he
one.
not have a photo?
Doesn't even have a photo. He's too tall for the photo. No, it's on. It's on. Too many
0.5.
tattoos.
0.5%. That's it. I've never
Cleveland-
seen that
can we go-
before. Wait, what just happened there? What? Oh, no, there he is. I
It's
see
on
him.
there.
Go
He's there.
Cleveland under 3. Oh my God, Bob Feller.
Emmanuel Clase.
That's really recent, though.
That's really recent. What's his name? Shaw. Brian Shaw. He had
Under
below
3?
Cody Allen.
I mean, yeah, go whatever you want.
Charles Nagy.
I'm trying to think of which one are you going with?
Charles Nagy.
Nagy?
Nice.
1%. Nice.
Percent,
Nice.
only one team with Cleveland. I'm only thinking of superstars, so my mind is going to the guys who barely got called up. Laporta. What was his name?
Matt.
Matt
But
LaPorta.
Matt Laporta. Did he play somewhere
get
else?
He played with
some
Milwaukee.
time with the Brewers?
Dang it. I was thinking of like Kevin Kuzminoff, but he went to
Go.
the Padres.
Go Bob Lemon. One team only with Cleveland.
Bob Lemon.
Lemon. That's got to be a time.
Lemon. Got a
2%.
minute.
Nice.
Nice.
Got a minute 30.
Go
got 3
Whitey
left.
Ford with the Yankees. Only one team.
Okay.
I'm just going.
Wait. Pedro Florial. I mean,
Oh,
not
Esteban.
Esteban Florial.
Wait, can you do that?
It's only one team.
Is there a minimum? Should we just try it? Let's try it. Well, Florial's definitely only been with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
Esteban
team?
Florial.
0.4. Let's go.
Yes.
Wait, he
Now
found
I
the
need-
loophole.
Ron
Yeah.
Guidry, 3 under ERA. What else? I mean, who
Guidry,
else?
and
Oh,
then
there's got to
No,
be
that's
something
good.
like Chad Green. Chad Green is an under.
Chad Green. Let's do Chad Green.
Chad Green, try it. The mean green, Chad Green. Come on, baby.
Nat.
Yes.
Point
Who
for it.
just got-
And
who-
lastly,
who
who's
just
a
got
Nat?
called up?
Who's a recent Nat that like
That
a
just
CJ
got called up.
Abrams? You know,
No, even less than that.
How much
Like-
time we got?
One of the recent guys that just got called up.
they have a lot.
Joey Meneses is kind of a bigger name. He's played only in the big leagues with
I
them.
know. Like who's like a real random Nat that got called up?
Who's the pitcher? Oh man.
Do Steve Rogers.
You go, Steve. I was gonna say that.
old Union rep Steve Rogers.
It's got to be under 5.
How'd we do?
19, nice.
I like 19.
That was strong.
4.
That
I like that
That's
one.
it,
I like
though.
that only one team. I like those
That's
two
it.
ones.
the only
Good
one team
Florial,
actually has
I
to get
agree.
run back because how many people probably look at that and they're like, "Oh, who's a legend? That was only
Right,
with
my
one
mind,
team."
my mind was going to
I
Zimmerman.
was going
and-
old school. I was
Yeah,
going
if there's not a minimum years attached to it, then that question's a cheat code.
That goes into my, like, who did you pitch? Who did you pitch for? Was it the Mets that you pitched for?
Me? Oh yeah.
So you would be an under 3 ERA
Under
for
3
the
ERA,
Mets.
yes. That would get negative.
If there's no
numbers.
minimums,
Yep.
that's what happens.
Beautiful. Slap hand. Plus. One of the best pitchers ever played this game. ERA's at 0. Just saying. Slap hands for that.
Todd Father's like, "Hey guys, one of the best pitchers ever you're sitting next to." So I have one shout out. Dusty Baker, in-game interview. I tweeted about it when it was happening. Was fantastic. I want more of that. 2 things that stood out. One is Verducci's interviewing him, and he's right next to him in his spot in the dugout. Usually, it's like they take him kind of in the back of the dugout,
No, he was there.
and it's like kind of in hiding. No, just right there. And maybe they don't let some of the interviews go down like that. I usually am doing them,
Just be
when I've
natural.
done games from the booth, but that was cool. It's like you're right there. It's a minute of everyone's time. It's okay. And then the answers, both answers were great. He recapped the inning that basically won the game for the Astros perfectly, just gave like a few quick points on it that stood out and made sure that he, shouted out Maldonado, who had 0-2 and it turned into a walk. And then the next question was even better in the answer, where he's asking him about the bullpen, which you often get from the managers during the game. And usually they're just like, "Oh, we got to see what happens. We got a long ways to go." And it's like most of us know somewhat what the situation is. And also he wasn't guaranteeing anything. If he switched, right? But he said, "Hey, look out, Hunter Brown, 2 innings, maybe even 3 if he's got it going." And he's like, a couple of our guys were just used yesterday, and went over that. And it was so meaningful for the game analysis in my mind. It brought a lot. So just want to point that out. Loved
Very
it.
nice. Very nice.
Because it was real. That's what people want. They want real. They don't want scripted. They don't want scripted games. They don't want scripted people. They want scripted engagements with people, and that's what the in-game analysis is doing. It's giving us honest. Like, if it was going bad, if it was going south for Dusty during that time, he probably would have been like, "I'm telling you, dude, we don't need this right now.
Yeah.
I'm gonna need to end this interview, or else, you can get your mojo out of here." Like, he's an honest person, and that stuff comes out in front of his players too.
He would be great on media.
On FT,
Yeah.
if
On
only
FT,
we
yeah.
had a guy that played for him, like at the beginning of his career.
Yeah, who could hit him up and be
Definitely.
like, "Yo, we helped each other out.
We
Right.
We should talk in the off season.
We gotta
We'll find
somebody.
something.
I'll find him.
You let us
I
know.
gotta check my phone.
What do you got
see
on?
if I have
What do you got on your head?
on my lid?
Oh,
Is that
Anybody?
AFL?
I was going
A
to say Arizona.
Suero
Fall
or
League.
whatever the thing I can't pronounce.
Swaro. I
Suaro.
wore the BP one the other day. This is the gamer. This
Nice.
is the gamer, John.
Very nice.
Barely wore it. Didn't play in the field, but Peoria Swaros, 2005.
Beautiful.
Elite lineup.
Elite hat. Simple cactus. Like it.
Super. Wearing it all weekend this weekend.
There you go. What about you?
Games.
Who's
I'm
going to win
going
the
to
two games?
Rutgers.
Who's
man.
gonna-
Oh, well, I thought you were asking what I was doing. So,
No, both.
That too.
no, I got Astros and I got Philly today.
Okay. That's
Rangers,
what I have.
Phils.
Rangers, Phils?
Rangers.
Okay. I got both of us keeping our hair. And cheers, as always, to Borgata right here at the BetMGM Sportsbook for hosting us today. And, here, real talk. Kike Hernandez said, wife got a flat tire. Had to run out and help. Emergency
This is real.
situation. It's real life. We'll bring him on next
Good
week.
for him.
And we'll
Good
see
for
everyone on Monday. Enjoy the playoff games, post-game shows Monday if there is a game 7 or 6 or whatever it is. So we'll see you then.